Welcome to Lesson 1 of Business Analytics. Let's get right in and look at the learning objectives for this lesson. First of all, we want to define what business analytics is. Secondly, we want to understand what some of its applications are. Thirdly, we want to understand why it's important. Fourthly, we want to understand what's changing and what the evolution of it is. And fifth, we want to understand what the scope is. So 5 key learning objectives in lesson number 1. But before we get into that, let's make sure there's a checklist that students must complete as part of lesson 1. They must read chapter 1 of the book. There are 2 articles in the lesson which you must read in order to be successful in the quiz at the end of the chapter. And you need to complete the lesson 1 quiz that is at the end of this lesson. So let's define business analytics. It's basically the use of data or information or statistical analysis to help business managers gain insight about their business operations. And it's proved to be very valuable because in recent surveys or reports or research, it's found that for every dollar a company spends on analytics, it gets a return of $10.66. Some of its applications, well, it's basically applicable to all fields of business. Customer service or relations uses it to figure out where their issues with customers are. Finance uses it to figure out the most efficient method to make collections. Supply chain management uses it to figure out where bottlenecks may be in the manufacturing process. Human resources planning uses it to quickly identify potential and ideal candidates. Marketing uses it for pricing decisions, and your favorite sports team probably uses it to make the right call at 3rd down and 10. Politicians use it to figure out where their next campaign stop should be. Now, we talked about the importance. The executives of the world agree with us. 83% of them say information using it effectively has never been more important than today. Let me repeat that. 83% of all executives, business executives, agreed that the importance of using information effectively to run their business has never been greater. It helps firms across the board with all sorts of decision-making, customer experience, improves revenue, profitability, and shareholder value. Now, the evolution, it started as what's called operations research, and you don't have to know all these evolutionary steps. It's ended up with what today is called personal computer software. But down here is what's really important to me is we now have more and more tools to handle more and more data. With barcodes, we're infiltrated with information. We have more and more sophisticated tools to use it, and the potential of using this information correctly to our advantage has never been greater. So the evolution is there's more and more data with more and more tools and more potential. The last item on lesson 1 is the scope. 3 types of analytics. Descriptive analytics describe the data. An example would be the class average on the last exam was an 81. It's not predicting anything. It's not advising me of anything. It's just describing what is. Predictive uses data, normally past performance, to predict future performance. I might want to predict next year's revenues based on last year's trends. Predictive analytics predict or forecast. Prescriptive analytics use some sort of optimization mathematical to advise us of what to do. So it'll give us some sort of advice. An example might be what route will maximize my collection efforts. So descriptive describe the data, predictive allows us to predict, and prescriptive helps us, advises us of what to do. That's lesson 1 overview. Have a good week.